Hi. I think we're headed back to a new dark ages, and I sure wouldn't want to have to live in a castle like this. I did used to live right down the street from this one. This is called Burg Frankenstein near Darmstadt, Germany, when I was a single soldier stationed in Germany in the early 90s. I bought this Camaro here you see in the lower left. That's my buddy in the car. I'm the guy on the phone there in the middle. I bought it in February of 94, so just a few years after the Berlin Wall came down and the world learned so much of what happened in Nazi Germany. And we were coming out of the Dark Ages when this was built in the 12th century. So I put that in as an example because we came through the Renaissance period where people used their imagination, the age of discovery, and then the early modern period, including the scientific revolution and the industrial revolution. So how did we get from the Dark Ages to the Industrial Revolution? All of these people that were the leaders used mastermind groups in some kind of way or another. And Napoleon Hill was the one who studied this best. He had personal introduction from Andrew Carnegie to 500 of the world's most influential people at the time. I don't think he interviewed Rockefeller because that was Andrew Carnegie's competition, but think of everybody else, the presidents he worked for, Thomas Edison, all these other people that Napoleon Hill took advantage of, or rather learned from. He borrowed their spiritual gifts, is what he would tell you. And so he feels like collaboration and cooperation helps you to assimilate the other personality traits, spiritual characteristics, so that when a group is working together, they'll get different perspective and different insight, almost like the group takes on a mind of its own, but in a positive way when these mastermind groups are conducted in a certain way. 17 shared traits were also found among all these 500 people responsible for the Industrial Revolution. I personally love Napoleon Hill. He made a big difference in my life, even though he died 2 years before I was born, I believe. And then I'm quoted in one of their books. The executive director at the time in the 2011 edition quoted me in there, and I interviewed her on my podcast at the time, the Medical Mastermind Community. Those legacy resources are still available online for free at Mindshift Care. And so I'd appreciate you participating, sharing the love in the podcast, and all the show notes have links in there for free sharing and posting and reposting through social media, even the channels that I don't use. I've got 4 examples here I'm going to show you of mastermind groups that I've currently got going on. These are subject to change because the group themselves takes on a mind of itself. And if you listen to this podcast down the road, the topics may change, but the basic concept is this. I support all of the books, programs, and video courses that I've written before. So if you're reading one of them on a different area of your journey, I want you to come to the 100-day Mindshift class, and that's where you have live question and answer session with me, the author of those resources. Another Mindshift that I have personally is I have that forever chemical PFAS, PFAS. That's spelled Papa Foxtrot Alpha Sierra. It stands for polyfluoroalkyl substances in the blood, and they last up to 28 years, and I have high blood work with some symptoms. And so I'm detoxing, and I've shown that it does come out in an ionic foot bath, so that's real important for you to know. And I'll share that in a Detox, Fit, and Fertile group. In my research for neurotoxins, I found that the top 9 neurotoxins in the water supply pretty much all affect fertility too. So incidentally, the research led me to be a supporter of fertility. With my background in mental health and counseling, that fits right in there with mental health and fertility and couples that are having trouble making babies. So if that's you or you want to detox, just join us on the live mastermind group and get an example how all this works. The third example I have for you is relapse prevention. Not only for all addictions, many addictions have lost getting any attention in the media and even from the American Psychiatric Association in its most recent version of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. They have lumped all these diagnoses together, like impulse control disorder, not otherwise specified. This kind of concept has carried forward. So you have hoarding disorder, shopping, kleptomania. Sex addiction is rampant and not being talked about in mental health near enough. And there are medical conditions as well. Parkinson's disease, some of the medicines that affect mental health or Parkinson's disease have side effects just like dopamine dysregulation, just like an addict. The body is thrown out of whack. It can happen accidentally. Maybe you had a car accident years ago and you started taking pain pills innocently, only to find out that now, years later, you're addicted physically. Maybe not mentally addicted, but you're physically addicted. And the symptoms, the things you have to do to take care of yourself are just like that of an addict and share the same similarities that you would find in my courses here. So I've lumped it all into a new diagnosis called dopamine dysregulation disorder. And you can learn about the Big Five in my book for relapse prevention. The fourth and final group is called Making Mind Shifters. This is where we get together and actually study Napoleon Hill's work, The Science of Personal Achievement. This group is actually a demonstration for all the rest of the mastermind groups. You'll learn the principles of masterminding and how groups work. But our actual purpose, the reason we're going to come together as a group and work on as a demonstration for you is how do we run the other groups? Our mission is to control and regulate and govern the other groups. And we'll do that together, and we'll study Napoleon Hill and use that process and make sure we're learning it. So you won't have to see it more than once or twice to kind of get it and move on. And we use his Science of Personal Achievement program. Now, you may have heard of Napoleon Hill before. His book, Think and Grow Rich, is really his bestseller and what he's most known for. However, he was already on the circuit speaking and had written that when he was challenged to complete his work by W. Clement Stone. He challenged him that Think and Grow Rich wasn't enough. It's great that he spent 20 years with Andrew Carnegie's introduction to the 500 of the world's most famous people, but the fact that he didn't break it down to the layman, how does the standard regular person use this kind of information in their daily life? And that's when he teased out, went back to the drawing board, and came up with the 17 principles of success. These were the success traits that can be broken down and consumed. That's the part we're going to study, and it's in his own words. It comes from different TV and radio programs and speeches he gave over time. And so it's spliced together, and it's put together just geniusly. It's a rare thing, and with an Audible trial, at least through Amazon, it's free. So this is given away, and I can't believe it's only 4-star review in Amazon. I mean, the thoughts responsible for the Industrial Revolution get 4 stars today. Crazy. That's crazy. So that's what we're doing. Again, I'm hosting a free virtual intensive outpatient program. If your outpatient program in therapy or counseling or medication management just quite isn't cutting it and you need more but can't go in the hospital or away to an expensive intensive outpatient program in person, try my free virtual one. We cover relapse prevention, anxiety reduction, pet therapy, sex therapy, and psychotherapy for post-traumatic stress disorder.